This report includes graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is one of America's new allies, the enemy of our enemy, beating a suspected Al-Qaeda member, threatening to kill him. He is part of America's success against Al-Qaeda in Iraq. A member of a Sunni militia group supported by the US to target Al-Qaeda. In this operation north of Baghdad, his group, no uniforms, their faces covered, are working hand in hand with local police and army units. And drawn from insurgent groups and local tribes, these are fighters who'd been killing Americans and now use some American-supplied ammunition and US military support to turn on Al-Qaeda. Enemies of the US, now supported by the US.
In Anbar province, Sunni tribes that were once fighting alongside Al-Qaeda against our coalition are now fighting alongside our coalition against Al-Qaeda. We're working to replicate the success in Anbar and other parts of the country.
And this is Anbar. Grainy video posted 2 weeks ago on an Islamist website shows US-aligned militia unloading another Al-Qaeda prisoner from a police pickup. The man in charge asks his prisoner if he killed someone called Khalid, and then, taunting, tells him to say hi to Khalid for me. Cursing their prisoner, the makeshift firing squad leads him to a spot near an embankment, and he's executed. Why would these insurgents and tribesmen turn on Al-Qaeda to work with the Americans? The answer: power, money, contracts, and control over their neighbourhoods. And while few mourn the deaths of Al-Qaeda fighters anywhere, summary executions and excessive force by militias sponsored by the US is not something American commanders say they condone nor seek. Brigadier General Mark MacDonald.
We don't allow that, and we do not encourage that. We will stop that if we see it.
That said, the General also says he's not seen reports of abuses himself. But another senior US official does say the militia's methods are an ugly side of the war here in Iraq. Ugly, but effective. In the militia-controlled areas, Al-Qaeda has not been defeated, but it's certainly been blunted. The capital of Anbar reclaimed from its grip, and attacks across the province spectacularly reduced, with similar signs emerging in other areas. The successes of the Sunni militias, however, come at a price. The Shia-dominated government in Baghdad is not happy, wary of US support for armed Sunni groups. This support scares us, says Hadi al-Amri, commanding a powerful Shia militia. He is Iraq's equivalent to the chairman of the Armed Services Committee in the US. Working with these people is very dangerous, he says. We told the Americans we won't accept under any circumstances their being open to armed Sunni militia like the Islamic Army of Iraq or the brigades of the 1920 revolution. Two of the very groups the US has been courting and supporting. And this former National Security Minister, now heading a parliamentary oversight body, claims the US is overstepping its authority. That these tribes are armed beyond the government's control might lead to conflict, he says, suggesting they may be an American counterbalance to a government accused of links to Iranian-backed militia from the Shia community.
There's nothing that the multinational force, the Corps, is doing with, by name, by numbers, by place, by location, by intent, that we don't share with the government of Iraq.
With few signs of progress from the central government, America's former insurgent enemies seem to have given US commanders something the Iraqi government rarely has: a success story.
Michael, there's also a word of a shift in strategy there. You did a tremendous piece on this yesterday that aired on AC 360, that the U.S. military is working with Sunni insurgents to fight Al-Qaeda in Iraq. But this thing all looks like it's getting a little bit unseemly at times.
Well, John, this has been going on for quite some time, honestly. It's suddenly being treated as new, though it's quite a well-developed program here. The talks with the insurgents that I personally know of began back in 2004. The first US-backed Sunni militias took to the streets in the middle to the beginning of last year. So this is what we're seeing. Now, does it have some ugly edges? Yeah. And American commanders knew this when they commissioned this project. I mean, these are Ba'athist insurgents in their home turf. As one US official said to me, when these guys go about their business, they go about the business in their way. This is the ugly side of this war. I mean, these guys are going out, they're the only ones who know where Al-Qaeda are, and they're not asking them to please come nicely, they're executing them. They're putting the fear into Al-Qaeda, and that's why we're seeing such an enormous change in the attacks in Al-Anbar province. They've dropped right down, John.
But at the same time, Michael, this is causing a lot of concern among the Shia-led government.
Oh, absolutely. The Shia government is dead against this. Despite whatever lip service the Prime Minister is paying to reconciliation in general and the welcoming of what everyone euphemistically calls the Anbar Sheikhs or the tribal sheikhs, because really what they're talking about is the Ba'athist insurgency. The government's never wanted to deal with these people. These people are opposed to the government America created. And now America is backing these groups. Now they're doing it principally because these guys are taking out Al-Qaeda. They're also reclaiming their neighbourhoods and stopping the government death squads from coming in. So that's helping with security too. But there's also a second level effect. The government fears that these Sunni militias are being used as a counterbalance to their own Shia militias, which of course are backed by Iran. It might not be a concern that's wrongly held. Indeed, they do provide a useful political counterbalance that I'm sure the Americans are not unaware of, John.
Well, I'm wondering about that, Michael. Is that by design on the part of the U.S. military?
Put it this way, I speak to a lot of these military folks who deal with a lot of these sensitive areas, and these people are not fools. They know what's going on.
Michael Ware for us this morning from Baghdad. Michael, as always, good to see you. Thanks.